Okay, so let's go ahead and start our conversation about pricing strategy and inflation management, which I feel like we are all feeling the effects of inflation. We've got two fantastic experts with us today who are going to share their insights based on their own experience. First, we have Marianne Sinkowski. Marianne is a dedicated advocate for small and medium-sized businesses with 19 years of experience at FedEx. As the manager of revenue management analysis, she specializes in crafting pricing strategies that fuel growth for both FedEx and its customers, ensuring mutually beneficial success. Hi, Marianne.
Brittany, thanks for having me, and I'm glad to be here with everyone today.
Wonderful. We're so excited to have you. And next we have Viridiana Ponce. Viridiana is a Latina business consultant and food expert dedicated to helping small businesses launch and grow. She founded VP Consulting in 2014 to support immigrants, entrepreneurs, and Spanish speakers like her family. Viridiana supports clients with financial projections, accessing capital, and strategic action plans. Over the past decade, she has empowered thousands of entrepreneurs through financial education, secured millions in funding, and helped launch numerous storefronts, catering companies, and food trucks. Hey, Viri.
Hola, so happy to be here with everyone.
Wonderful. Yes, we're so excited to have both of you, and we've got a ton of really great questions. So let's just jump into it. Vidi, I want to start with you. How has inflation specifically impacted small retail businesses in recent years?
Oof, all right. So I know I have only 5 minutes, but I feel like everyone across the board and especially, retail businesses have seen and felt the increases in just like everyday costs and essential like materials and supplies. So an increase in cost of goods sold. I know all my clients have, in their COGS, they've seen those prices like skyrocket. And so that also means that there's higher operating expenses. So things like higher utility bills, rent or transportation expenses that have definitely increased. And what that means is that then it puts pressure, a lot more pressure on cash flow. And I've seen a lot of my clients having to be a lot more intentional and strategic about what they're purchasing, which in a way that's something we should always be doing. But I think it just, it is in a stressful, it puts us in a stressful situation. And it's also the pressure, we have more pressure and necessity to update our prices since all of the overall costs have increased, which means that that starts to impact and sometimes erase our margins. Then it goes into, smaller margins, and in low margin industries like food services, that's really dangerous because it's already like 1 digit profit margins that some of these businesses have. And so this increase, like even a 1% increase in overall expenses could be really dangerous. And wage pressure is also another impact that inflation has on small businesses because prices and costs are increasing not only for businesses, but for you and I, for everybody, which means that our living expenses are increasing and our employees may need or demand higher wages to keep up with their own expenses. And so, once again, that puts more pressure on the small business and on your margins. And a big impact that it also has is that it shifts the way that consumers are spending and consumer behavior. And it can, for certain types of consumers, it could really have an impact in, that they're spending less on like commodities or luxury items and just focusing on purchasing, like necessity items. So those are some of the ways that inflation can impact a small business.
Yeah, it's like it's coming from all sides, it's coming not only, I think, cost of goods is really kind of where our mind goes, but like you said, the transportation, the the costs in wages, like everything is just increasing. So I know you talked about a lot of them just now, Vidi, but I want to ask, what are the primary factors contributing to those increased costs for small businesses today?
Yeah, so there's a lot of, I think, like supply chain disruptions, and that leads to like scarcity and higher prices. And I've seen that, especially like during the pandemic, I saw that a lot of my clients who were like in a build out phase or had certain products that were coming from other parts of the world, that there is just longer delays and increased shipping expenses due to global, right? Like global supply chain issues. And so that can have a really big impact on our costs of goods. And when we're getting our actual like materials and equipment, a lot of my clients had really long like lead times. Some clients didn't know if certain materials were going to get there like on time for like the holidays. I had some clients that I remember last year there was a shortage with jars, and my client does salsas, in jars. And so they didn't know if they were going to have enough for the holidays. So they had to order a lot more. So supply chain issues is really, is a huge factor. Also increased labor expenses because we're in a competitive hiring market, right? And also the rising costs, I think, of utilities and transportation are some of those factors.
Yeah, you can't jar your salsa or sell your product if you can't get your hand on those things. Um, okay, so I really want to start diving into the meat and potatoes of this conversation. So, Vidi, what are some effective or creative pricing strategies that small businesses can use to manage inflation and maintain that profitability?
Yeah, so it's so important. I think that since the onset, we really understand what our costs are to produce, an item or provide a service, and ensure that we have enough margins, enough profit margins for each product and every single service that we're providing. And so I would say that first, like, make sure you take that time to understand how much it does cost you to produce and to make. And I also want everyone to think about integrating your pay into the equation, because that gets left out so often. And so we provide a product that doesn't include our own pay. And so it doesn't give us enough margin to later pay ourselves and to be a sustainable business. So I'm going to say first, make sure we understand our costs. And then in terms of like effective and like creative ways, um, think about value-based pricing. And this is where we're going to focus on the value that our product or service provides rather than only focusing on the cost. So I know I just mentioned that we first have to understand the cost, and that's really important, but we also have to understand that we know how to communicate what the true value is of what we're providing. Like, what is that? What are we solving? Right? Like, are we helping a client solve a problem faster, easier? Are we helping them save money? Do we have a unique product? Is it labor intensive? Do you have beautiful packaging? So I think that it's so important that we focus on the value, because I've seen this with my clients, right? That when they're able to clearly communicate what their value is and deliver on that unique value proposition, they usually can charge a higher price. And so they're absolutely covering their costs, but then their margins are definitely bigger when they use this pricing strategy. And then, Brittany, did you have a question
No,
about
I
that?
was just gonna say
Okay.
I love the idea of really not just charging like what it's worth and a little more, but like really communicating that value and charging what that is worth. So anyways, I was just
Yeah,
caught up.
no, good. Okay. And this, I think about value pricing is not just, it's easier, I feel like, to understand for services. So let's say like graphic design or an architect or a consultant, right? That the value is more than just the hour they're spending with you. But it also applies to goods, right? To goods that we're creating. If it's something that's very unique, something that people don't see in the city where you're in, like this applies to both a product and a service business. The other pricing strategy, and this one I really like using it with my clients, and it's been really effective with my clients, is thinking about bundling or creating combos. So this is where we could combine products and services, or products and or services at a slightly discounted rate so that we can encourage higher sell volumes. And what this also allows is that for us to spread our cost of goods sold across different items. So for example, like for product-based businesses, I like my clients to think about like, what are some items that may be expensive for them to produce that they could then combine with a lower cost item. And I'm going to give another food example, but I'm thinking like if you make a steak salad, a salad's not going to cost you that much for you to produce. And if you combine it with a steak is going to be more expensive. But if you combine both of those, then you're able to spread the cost of goods sold of the salad. And then what it also allows you to do is like sell something at a higher price than if you were just to sell them individually. And then for a service-based business, you can think of providing, for example, a package of services, like bundling some hours or encouraging people to purchase, like if it's for consulting, encouraging them to purchase like 10 hours rather than just 1 hour at a time. And this way you can ensure a steady revenue source. And for your client, it provides them a slight discount and an incentive for them to want to purchase. So I love this. I love this strategy. It's effective. It works. And a lot of my clients apply it. The other one that I think is really helpful is to think about doing tiered pricing. And this one's also an exciting one because it can help you introduce different price points for products or services. And so when we're thinking about, consumer behavior changing, there's going to be some people that they won't be able to buy maybe the most expensive product, but they still want to buy something from your business. And so if we have different price points or like an introductory level, product, they can still get your product, but at a price point that will work for them. And then that also allows for those folks who maybe have a higher discretionary income for them to still be able to get that product. And an example I can think of is, for example, would be a bakery that could offer like a premium artisanal baked good at a higher price while still maintaining like their standard offerings at a lower price point. And I've seen this happen where a bakery that had been in an area for, I think, like 30 plus years, that they still wanted to serve their existing clientele. But they had new people, like new type of demographics of folks who were moving into their neighborhood, who weren't going in and buying so many pieces of bread. And so we thought about like, what if you make some really fancy, artisanal, expensive bread, because they're only coming in to buy one piece of bread. And they did that. And they were selling like this one baked good for like $10+, had a really good profit margin, while their clientele who had been coming for years, they would come in, buy the lower price items, but they would buy like $40 worth of baked goods. But I feel like that encourages, new consumers, right? Like could attract like new clients, but then you're also still providing, the same goods to your existing clientele. And the other thing that I would mention is that you can also introduce different pricing options that you haven't used before. So it could be like subscription based, or doing things like in groups could be an idea. So don't be afraid to experiment as well. Just as long as you understand the cost of it and that you're covering all of your expenses.
So many cool and like creative ideas that can really span almost any industry that you're in. I love that. Okay, Marianne, shipping. That's a big one, especially when you're running that e-commerce biz. What strategies can businesses use to charge for shipping without the risk of losing customers?
Yeah, and I think what's also nice about the shipping side of things is you can actually experiment here too. And I'm going to go through a lot of options that everybody has accessible to them. Just know that one size doesn't fit all when it comes to your strategy, your business. There's going to be a variety of factors that influence your decision on how you apply shipping costs. Really, that's one of your biggest line items when it comes to costs. So it's very important for you to understand what the cost is to ship a package for your business to ensure that you're covering those profit margins. I think as we've been talking, it's making sure that you're putting all of these things into your cost of goods so that you're passing that along to your consumer, but you're really making sure that you strike a price point that's going to speak to your consumers to purchase those goods. So when we talk about shipping and how do we incorporate those, I think everybody's well aware of the free shipping concept that's out there. It's a tough strategy to implement, especially if you're new in your business journey. It's very attractive to consumers to have free shipping. I think it's realistic that we know that it's built into the cost of goods, and that's something we've got to keep in mind. It's a great tactic, but make sure you have a clear understanding of the cost of shipping to build that into your product, and then also how that influences your profit margins. It's tough to do that as you start out. So I would say explore this option as you start to get experienced. Another strategy is flat rate shipping. Looking at a fixed price, it's very transparent for your customer to know that if they purchase from you, for example, it might be $5 that you charge for shipping. It's important for you to understand your product commodities, the box size that you're shipping, the weights of those products, so that you can have a good understanding of what your average cost is for shipping, so that you can then determine what that flat rate is. You want to make sure that you're not overcharging or undercharging for your own benefit, but you want to make sure that you're prepared to understand how to pass along those costs and make it transparent. Another method, and it kind of goes to this bundling conversation. The more that you purchase from me as a business, the likelihood that you'll get free shipping. One thing that's really nice here is consider what your average sale price is for a given order, and then make that fee slightly higher. Let's just say your average purchase price is $60. You might want to set a $75 limit to get free shipping. You'll start to see those order numbers increase, which will create that benefit of you selling more products and then offering that free shipping as an incentive. Lastly, I think another area that's really great to leverage as you're experimenting is promotional free shipping or promotional flat rate shipping. If you're a little concerned or a little hesitant to jump, 2 feet into the water, this might be a way for you to experiment to see how you can get rid of larger old inventory of goods, or even drive increase in sales quickly, but also mitigate your risk on your profit impacts if you're going to offer that free shipping. So those are some suggestions, Brittany, that I think that work well across the board for a lot of our shippers.
I love those ideas. And as a consumer, I see myself like on that checkout page and I got $62 and I'm like, let me go add something else because I want the free shipping. So it really does motivate us as consumers. And I love the idea of a promotional shipping strategy because you don't have to tie yourself to it, which I think can be kind of scary if you don't have all the data. So those are great. Okay, Viri, how can businesses balance the need to increase prices without the risk of losing customers?
Yeah. So, well, I just want to refer back to what Marianne said. Like, I was just like, yes, agreeing to everything because it is really important that we consider all of those shipping expenses into your cost of goods sold. And I love what you mentioned about experimenting because a lot of this is going to be us figuring out what works or what doesn't for our clients. So I love that you use that word, right? And if we are going to experiment, like build that into your cost, right? Because it will have an impact. On your profitability, as Marianne was saying. So just wanted to mention that. So in terms of how can businesses balance the need to increase prices, we said without the risk or with the risk of losing customers. So I just want to mention that it's going to happen and it's most likely going to happen. And this, I've seen this with my clients, like during inflation times and not, that when they change their pricing, they do lose clients. And something I want us to consider is that it may not always be a bad thing, especially if that product or that service was not profitable to begin with. And that's something that I see over and over again with my clients. Like whenever a client tells me they're really busy and they're selling, but they're not profitable, more than likely it's because they don't have enough. They don't have enough profit with what they're selling. So when they do make a change, they do lose clients, but you're losing clients that may not necessarily be a good fit, right? Or you may be changing up a product that wasn't a good fit for your business to begin with. So just want us all to know, like, it's going to happen, and like mentally be prepared for that. But obviously we don't want to lose all of our clients, because then that would be no bueno. So I think it's so important that we focus on our customer experience, and that we think about always like enhancing the experience, and always making our experience for our clients easy. And that's something I always recommend to my clients. Like, how can we make the checkout process, the ordering process easy for your clients? Because people will trust you, right? Like people will enjoy that if we make the ordering process so easy, especially with e-commerce businesses. If people can't check out easily, if they can get the information, they're going to go to your competitors. They're not going to stick around on your website and try and figure out how to check out. So I would always consider, like, how do we add more pictures to our website? Do we add tutorials? Do we provide customer service? How can we enhance our clients' experience, especially if we're going to make a change? Because I think one of the most dangerous things could be you change your prices, you go up in prices, and your customer service declines. That's not fair for your clients whatsoever. And that's a really great way for you to lose clients. So always think about your client experience. I think we can also think about introducing new items that are going to live up or exceed our clients' expectations. And this is, once again, it's really thinking about our clients and really understanding what is it that they need, or they want, or they desire. It comes from, us really understanding what are they willing to pay for, and us seeing, like, is there anything else that we can help them with, that we can serve them with, and something that's going to be aligned with your mission and with your vision. I also don't want you starting a whole new business idea just because our clients need something else, but something that's aligned with what you are providing. And then, as Marianne mentioned, like, data is so key, and really understanding, what are they purchasing? Right? Because then we can make better decisions. We can introduce items that are in the price point that our clients are typically purchasing, or we can introduce that, like, promotional shipping. But looking at your POS system, or looking at, well, I would say your POS system or your like sales data could be really helpful in understanding what is it that our clients need, what else can we introduce so that it lives up to their expectations. And then what I've also seen some of my clients do is do a gradual price increase while still providing added value through your services. And I've also seen with this like gradual price increase that some of my clients have, for example, for their existing clients, they give them a longer period of time for that price increase, so that they're kind of like rewarding their existing loyal clients. And then this new pricing is introduced to newer clients. And I think that also I've used that myself, where as I've increased my prices, for my loyal clients, I'll let them know, like, hey, these are my prices right now, but since you're one of my loyal clients, I'm giving you, for X amount of time, I'm giving you your existing rate. And that really help, I think that that builds a stronger, trust factor between my clients, that they understand that I need to increase prices, but I'm also giving them some time to kind of catch up to that. And the other thing is that I know it can be really scary to think about increasing our prices and losing clients. I see that all the time with my clients, but I think it's scarier to think that we won't have enough profit margins and that we're not paying ourselves. and that we're going into, you know, that we're going into debt, that we're not running a sustainable business. And so it's so important that when we are thinking about increasing these prices, it's that we're thinking about how can each item or service help add some profit to my business so I can pay myself, so I can continue serving more clients.
Oh my gosh, so many good things in there. And I think at the end, when you're just saying like, you have to have a sustainable business. So if it's the difference between losing a couple of people who it might happen, and if we come to terms with that early, that is in sacrifice for your business surviving. And I love the different strategies. Sounds like there's so many different ways that you can communicate with your customers and still provide them a lot of value. So much good stuff in there. Okay, Marianne, what strategies can businesses implement to maintain customer loyalty when prices need to be raised?
You bet. I think this is probably one of my favorite topics. So working with FedEx, from a small business perspective, FedEx is there for small businesses. We've got a variety of things that you can leverage with your carrier. It's not that we just provide shipping to and from. We've got a lot of solutions that will actually help you bundle up with us to actually benefit and save. One thing that we've got that we do well is actually a FedEx Rewards loyalty program. So we talk about loyalty, things of that nature. When you're loyal to FedEx, we've got the ability to actually have you earn gift cards, different discounts with different retailers that can actually help you with your business needs. We've got solutions and discounts for FedEx Office that can help with your marketing needs. When it comes to e-commerce, we know that everybody has a different stage of life in their business. We've got tips and tricks to help you with technology integration, fulfillment, shipping solutions, and more. The other thing that's really great from a pricing point of view is when you work with FedEx and you're loyal to FedEx, we've got solutions that provide you with earned discounts. That actually is the more you spend, the more you save with us. So there's definitely a benefit of partnering with a carrier and being loyal to them. The other thing that we have that I think is probably one of the most important things for a small business starting up is we actually have a small business portal on our FedEx.com site that provides a wealth of information, and it's all free information for you to have access to. Things like international shipping. I know how scary that can be, but if you want to expand your reach globally, we've got a lot of solutions that help you understand and demystify the international shipping experience. Another thing that we help out with, a lot of small businesses need, is free packaging. We've got that on our express services that we offer, but you also have the ability to use your own packaging if you want to put your own brand and spin to it. And lastly, I think the other thing that's really critical regarding the data aspect of it, we have on that portal the ability to run your own shipping reports. So you can actually get your data of how you're leveraging your shipping with FedEx to understand where your customer base is, things of that nature, also the cost of your shipping, your trends, things of that nature, to really empower you as a business to learn more about how that line item is really influencing your business and the success.
Oh gosh, I like the kind of cyclical nature of like this customer loyalty, because it's like building customer loyalty with your customers, but also building that loyalty with like your carriers, like you said, and reaping those same benefits that you might be offering to your customers is really, really cool. And we are dropping a link to the resources that Marianne was talking about. We'll drop it a couple of times, but just so you guys know where you can go and find those resources that FedEx has for small business owners. Okay, Viri, how important is transparent communication with customers about price change due to inflation?
Yes. So I think that it's so important that as business owners that we understand why we're increasing or updating our pricing and what changes come along with that, so that we're able to clearly and briefly communicate it. But I'm going to say that it depends on what kind of relationship you actually have established with your clients, that you may or may not share it. And so I'm going to share a couple of ways of what I've seen businesses, like how businesses have navigated this and what some of my clients have done. So I've had some clients that will post on social media, and those are usually clients that are just like very open, you know, with their clients. And so it's usually, you know, when they've established a really strong like personal brand. And so I've seen that. I've seen people where they've sent out to their private clients an email that's sharing, for example, like gradual increases. I've seen also like with bigger companies. I know recently there was one with like Canva, that they send out, a mass email saying that they were updating their pricing. And I think that's also really helpful that they give you time and they briefly explain like why they're making these changes. And then I've also seen clients that they just increase their prices and not publicly mention it. And I think that's okay as well. I think that a lot of times small businesses feel like they need to explain their every move, and we don't. We really don't need to explain every single move that we're making and be apologetic about it. However, I think that we should be prepared for, inquiries or being able to answer, and get feedback and be able to answer like, why did we increase? Like what were the changes that came with it? So I would say that it's gonna depend on what kind of relationship you do have with your clients.
Yeah, I like how it's just a full spectrum, and then but still no matter what being prepared for when people do ask, if they ask. Um okay, so Vidi, another question for you. What are some practical tips for small businesses to manage and reduce those operational costs during periods of high inflation?
Yeah, so we're getting into what I love to do with my clients. And what we work on, that we want to regularly track and summarize our expenses, because when the summarizing is really important because it makes it easier to identify potential opportunities. And I'll give you an example with one of my clients. When she got quick, we were able to then like track and then summarize her operating expenses, and only then did she realize that her POS was charging her like multiple features that weren't actually having a positive like return on her investment. And so they weren't actually helping. And that over a year, it represented thousands of dollars that she was potentially going to lose. And she had like these duplicate expenses for different things that she had signed up for. But because she didn't have them summarized, she wasn't able like to really like understand that impact until we used a program like QuickBooks that we were able to identify. And then we also did the exercise, and I do this exercise with all my clients, that when we summarize the expenses, I go through line item by line item to make sure that they understand what each line item represents. Because oftentimes, especially if you're, an existing business, you're like, you start signing up for things and you have things on auto pay, and then you forget, and then you don't even know how, what you're spending your money on. So I would say regularly track and summarize your expenses, know what each expense item is, and then make sure you do this regularly. This is going to be more effective if we're doing this on a monthly basis. And so what I would do is that I would have put a reminder on my calendar today to say, I'm going to check my expenses, the 25th of the month. That way it starts becoming a habit and it doesn't become this like daunting exercise, and you're able to catch these expenses that may not be providing you with, a good return on the investment. Something else that's helpful that I do with my clients as well is that because we review their profit and loss statement and their expenses, we're able to see how much money they're spending, for example, on shipping or on their different materials and ingredients. So we're able to then take this information and negotiate with vendors for better terms, discounts, or understand what the price breaks are. And we usually do this on like a quarterly basis, that we're going back to certain vendors to ask them, for better terms. And then something that's really helpful is identifying alternative suppliers. Um, Always having like your backups, right? And knowing that what are the substitutes for your main ingredients or for your main, materials or supplies, without you, and that they're the same quality, right? So you're not sacrificing value for your, for your clients. And this has been so important for us to do, because I have some clients that they have materials coming from overseas. And so when there are supply chain issues, that could be a really big problem. And them receiving their materials or their supplies on a timely basis. And so what we do a lot of times is identify alternative suppliers, either that are here in the US or even somewhere else, so they have backups. And something else that I think could be really helpful for us to be able to manage and reduce operational expenses is streamline your operations. So really thinking through, like, if there are any applications or technology that you can invest in that can help you reduce cost or reduce time that you're spending maybe doing some admin work. Because a lot of times with small businesses, there's certain processes that aren't automated, and the small businesses have one person, and that one person, right, the owner is in charge of producing the marketing, the sales. And so if we're able to automate a process or use technology to help us do a specific, like track our sales or do inventory management more efficiently, then that can save you time so you can focus on selling and creating more, so that you can, focus on making more money and bringing more money in, and that'll help you as well with dealing with inflation.
Gosh, from the very first story and hearing about the different point of sale system, like charging all those different fees, to just like kind of figuring out how much time am I really spending? Is there a way it can be automated? I really feel like the underlying theme of our conversation today is like, know your data, know what's going on there, because then you can make those really good quality decisions instead of trying to guess back and forth. So many good tips in there, especially, at a time where any bit we can save in time or money or anything is really valuable. So Marianne, I want to ask you, how does developing that long-term partnership with a shipping carrier benefit a small business?
Yeah, I think kind of supplementing the additional things that I talked about earlier, one thing that we do really well is we've got sales professionals to assist. If you're, depending on your shipping spend, we'll actually provide you with an AE that you can work with directly, an account executive that you work directly with. They provide a wealth of knowledge to help support and grow your business. Not only consultant from a shipping perspective, but really helping you find the right solutions to position. I know FedEx has a lot of service offerings. It can be confusing and complex. That's really just the shipping industry as a whole. Our AEs will help you dissect that to understand what's best for your product, for your business, to save money, to make sure that you have a good customer experience. They provide support through our packaging lab. That's one area that's really a nice to have. We've got a free packaging lab that'll test your boxes. They'll tell you if there's opportunities to improve, things of that nature, to make sure that your package integrity stays throughout the point A to point B conversation. So there's a lot of support that FedEx as a carrier can provide to you beyond just shipping your package.
Yeah, packaging lab, first of all, sounds really cool, but I love the idea of having someone test that out for you, and also really having that expert who like fundamentally understands the shipping and the packaging experience, so you can tap into that. That's one of our biggest things at AOF is like putting those experts right in front of the people who need it. And so I think this is just a great way to expand on those opportunities. Vidi, what long-term strategy should small business owners consider to remain resilient in the face of ongoing economic challenges? It never ends.
Yes. So I think that I'm gonna repeat a couple of things that I've mentioned, but I think are really important. So I really want my clients and for you to make a profit. And so I think that long term, I would really consider like any product or service that you are going to provide to your clients before you put it out there. Make sure that you understand, once again, that you understand the cost, including adding in, a payment for yourself and having, taking the time to do that exercise. It doesn't mean it has to take you weeks and weeks for you to figure this out, but really understanding like how much does it cost me to make this product? How much is, am I going to pay myself for each one of these products? And being disciplined to do that exercise and only put it out, only offer it once we've done that exercise, and that we've also evaluated and what the value is, and that we're able to communicate what that value is for our product. So I think goes back to understanding your expenses, your costs, and ensuring you have enough margins. Obviously focusing on your financial management, so reviewing that profit and loss statement on a monthly basis, and then I would conduct like quarterly reviews of your production costs and your pricing strategies. And then we mentioned this earlier, but analyzing sales data to really understand which one of the items or services that you're providing is really contributing to your profit. And so an exercise I do with my clients is we identify what are high cost but low sell items, and we take them out or we phase them out so that then they could start focusing on, on those items that are the better fit for them and for their clients, and that are providing a bigger profit margin for themselves. And then identifying those highest like margin items and thinking about, can we do a variation of these items? Like, are there opportunities for us to provide either a complementary product or service to something that's already selling well, that our clients, love? And then I think something else in terms of long term is thinking about diversifying our product line or services so that we can attract different clients. So that kind of goes in line with what we mentioned about offering like the tier pricing, so we can have a variety of clients. And then I think something that's really helpful and that has helped me in my business these last 10 years is also finding your community and being part of a community, because there's so many other ideas, right? And so many other ways that we can run our business or different technology. And I think something that's been so helpful is by being part of a community, I find out and I learn and I grow and I'm challenged, and I have someone, have a group of people that I can also, talk about these hardships, and that also motivate me or like push me to think bigger. And so that's something that's really helpful. And the last thing I would say is making sure that you're investing in your growth and seeking help. There's so many amazing resources. The Accion resource page is one of my favorite. There's so many articles and classes and webinars. And then today we found out about the FedEx resource page. So I would say reach out, right? You don't have to figure it out all on your own.
Yes, I love that. That piece, that community piece we find is like so valuable, just because, like you said, Vidi, there's so many ways you can run your business and someone might have that inside information. And for those of you, I definitely have to shout out Vidi really quick, because she is one of our amazing Coaching Hub coaches. So you may be here like, oh, I wish I could just get 30 minutes with Vidi. You can, and it's free. So we're going to drop the business advising link. And Vidi is just one of many coaches that we have on a range of topics. So we're talking marketing, business strategy, pricing. Like, there are so many different areas of your business that you have to maintain. So please check that out if you are looking for a way to get some one-on-one time, because we're going to go into our Q&A in a little bit. And I want to get to as many questions as possible, but I do think there are some questions, they're just so specific to your business. And in order to give it the real time it requires, we're going to drop that link so you can check it out. Okay, so let me step off my soapbox and let's get into the last question of the day. Marianne, I want to start with you. What is one piece of advice you would give to entrepreneurs in the audience when it comes to this pricing strategy and inflation management conversation?
Yeah, I would say know that you're not alone, right? We've got a lot of businesses out there that are also in the same shoes. You've got resources at your fingertips between what FedEx has to offer and what this great organization has to offer as well through webinars and things. Be your own advocate, find ways forward when it comes to shipping. Definitely ask the questions, explore your options. FedEx is a great resource as the small business portal has for you. Dig into that data and then also reach out. We've got account executives that are willing to support, as well as just FedEx as a whole is willing to support you as you grow through your journey.
I love that. Reach out, find the person who can answer your question. Vidi, same question for you. A piece of advice you would give to entrepreneurs in the audience when it comes to pricing strategy and inflation management.
Yeah. So you can make money doing what you love. And I think that a way that we can do that is that we have to like understand once again our cost, our prices, and our profit margin, no matter how small or how big your business is. And also when we're thinking of creating a pricing strategy, like make sure that it not only covers your expenses, but it captures the value of what you're truly offering. So don't forget to add that piece in.
Yes. I love that. So much good information, and we are going to be sending out the recording. So if you're like spinning with what do I pick up first? That's all going to come to you tomorrow. Now, we've gotten a ton of questions through our conversation today, so I want to go ahead and jump into those, and we'll just get to as many as we can. So, Vidi, this first question, I'm going to kick it to you. Can you explain how to build shipping into your product cost? If I'm selling, an example, if I'm selling a $3 purse and shipping is $12, should the product be 15?
Yes. So we definitely want to understand, and I think it would be really helpful to talk with, for example, as Marianne was saying, that they've got representatives that can help us understand the different shipping structures and ways that we can do it. But we definitely want to make sure that we understand how much it's going to cost us to get the product to the hands of our clients. I remember with a client who was selling coffee, and she was providing a discount if they purchased two plus a $5 plus free shipping. And she didn't have all of those costs like summarized and all together. So she was kind of seeing those costs like all separated out. And when we finally put, what the price was, what the revenue was of those two coffee bags, and we summarized the cost to make the coffee, the packaging, and the shipping, she realized that her profit margin was so small and she wasn't able to pay herself. So she wasn't able, like, she was giving the discount plus another discount of the shipping. And a lot of times people don't realize that. So I would say that do that exercise of saying like, how much does it cost me to make my product? What's the packaging that it costs me? And then for the shipping information, I would say reach out to, FedEx or understand the different shipping options, and then consider that into your cost of goods sold, because it's very much a cost of goods sold it could make the difference of you making money or not in your business.
Oh, that's so interesting too. When you have all those numbers floating around, it can be like, I feel like I'm making money. Like I feel like it, but then you have to really look at it. Marianne, there's been some interest in the packaging lab, and just want to double check, what's the best way for folks in the audience to find out more about the packaging lab? Is it that link that we shared earlier?
Absolutely. The small business link and also the packaging link that we shared earlier. It'll give you all the details. There's actually a really cool video that you can watch to see how they test those packages too. So definitely go check that out.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. So those are those links that we dropped earlier, and they are they'll be right inside of our conversation today. So, next question, for Vidi. I have heard that you should price your products so that you can place them on sale without losing money. Do you recommend that?
I'm going to say it depends. It depends on how you're positioning your brand. I've got some clients, for example, that will, their items will never go on sale. And those are usually the items that where they're able to clearly communicate, what makes them unique. Their packaging is usually like really gorgeous and they use premium ingredients. And so they will never go on sale. Um, but that's just the way that they've positioned their business. What they do offer in terms of the shipping, that they do have a flat rate shipping for their products. So that's a way that they're able to like motivate people to purchase like more or less. But I do have some other clients that, like the example I gave earlier with the coffee, that she used the bundling technique to engage more clients. But I would say like the way it would have worked for her is if she would have priced those at, higher, considered all of her costs first, so then she could discount them. But I think it really depends on who your clients are, what kind of business you have, because that could work for certain types of businesses. But for certain types of businesses, they decide that that's not going to be their technique or their strategy to sell more. And I also just want to encourage everyone to really think that having the lowest price isn't always the best way to attract more people or to attract more sales. And to always have items going on sale also may not be the best strategy all of the time, but I think it could work. For example, if we're trying to get rid of like old inventory, right? We could motivate people. I usually recommend that my clients like bundle it up and that way they give a discount without them saying that they're giving a discount. So that could be something that we can do as well. Like you package it up differently so you could offer a different price point.
So it's not like it's not like on sale, all these things on
Mhm.
sale. Okay, so this question is, Vidi, I'm going to kick it to you again. What do you think about a temporary price increase? For example, an inflation price addition.
That's interesting. I would say once again, I'm going to say it depends, right? Like it depends on the business. I think that it could be a little confusing. Like if I'm thinking about it, it could be a little confusing if we're like constantly changing the prices up for our clients. And so it could be something like where prices do changes, like market prices when we have things for like seafood, right? Like that's an area or a type of business where you do see that used as, like a common strategy. So I'm going to say it depends on your business industry. You can also try it out, but what I would kind of just advise or like consider is like if we do have so many price changes, like if that's going to be confusing and if it'll be a turn off for your clients. um I think that's why it's so important that we do understand our costs and that our margins, that we have enough margins from the beginning so that there are, if there are price fluctuations, we can kind of, ride those instead of making those changes every single time there's a price change, because there's always price changes for items. Like I see it with my clients all the time that their cost of goods sold, they're always going like a little higher, a little lower, but we're not constantly changing the prices because it could be confusing for our clients. So I would just say it depends on the industry, it depends on your clients. Um that I would implement that change.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just having like a really good understanding of, is that something that's going to confuse your clients? Because at the end of the day, we don't want to confuse them. It's kind of what you mentioned earlier, Vee. Like we want to make everything very easy. Like they get to work with us. Okay, well, I feel like we've covered so much in an hour, and I was gabbing at the beginning of this, so I feel like in such a short amount of time. Marianne and Vidi, you guys both shared so much valuable information. I really want to thank you for doing that. I want to thank everyone in the audience for spending an hour with us today because I know your time is so valuable. And I would love to hear if there's anything that's coming to mind today, like what is your next step for your pricing strategy or maybe inflation management in your business? Please go ahead and drop it in the chat. Thank you all so much for your time today. Thank you to Marianne, thank you to Viri, and thank you to everyone in the audience. And we will see you all at the next one. Bye, everyone.